invited me. You invited me, Will. I think I remember. You invited me out, and I ran in. I got to meet all the sergeant majors, and it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool to because when you have those events like NCO calls and things or right hand
Oh,
nights or times
yep,
like that, and
absolutely.
it is an opportunity to I don't know, to just see people on a different level and to see a future you, what a future you might look like. You know, what would when you're a young sergeant and you get invited to an event like that, you're like, oh wow. So on a
You're
Friday
absolutely
night,
yeah, you're absolutely correct, and that's exactly how it happened with me. I mean, I was only a I may have been an E6, but I think I was more of an E5. I was
right?
just a high speed guy, and I was afforded that opportunity to go out, and I met so many sergeant majors and had so much fun. Oh my God! In fact, the wife was there for a while, and she's like, "I got to go home because if I stay here, we're both gonna be drunk and can't drive." So she went back home, and man, it was just so much fun. Will,
Yeah.
you were there?
Oh, I'm sure I was. I'm sure I was. It's
You were because you introduced me. You introduced me to a lot of those sergeant majors and
oh yeah.
that little group, that elite group, and I was like, wow, I'm actually been invited to this. Could you just imagine the worth I felt? The love.
Well, yeah. So look, it's something that we don't talk about so much, but because you don't realize it in the moment. But what we're watching is like it's like banquets that they used to have in medieval times, where the knights would get together before battle or after battle and have a big party and a get together, and that's
Absolutely.
where all that comes from. And so the revelry from that
We were
somehow, when
we
I
were the
got to
rock.
a certain level, yeah,
Yep, you're absolutely right. That's when you get inducted into the St. Barbara's,
yeah, yeah,
the Great Order of St. Barbara.
exactly. It's
You
it's a it's a
become you
it's a
become
weird,
yeah, you become like that rock hauler and that guy that way back when they were just slinging rocks. It goes all the way back. The history
yeah.
of air defense. It's so
You
amazing.
don't think of it so much when you're doing it,
Uh-uh.
right? You don't. It's
No,
like,
no. I was
oh
just like, this is cool. I finally got
yeah,
inducted. This
yeah,
is awesome. This is a great thing, and I've always been. I'm a lifetime member of the Air Defense Artillery Association.
right,
Uh, I think that was one of the best things that I ever did when I was a young soldier. I did that like as an E4,
right.
so and back then money was tight, but I thought it was important,
Oh
that we
yeah,
continue to carry on the legacy and support the museum and Air Defense Artillery Association, which is now in Fort Sill, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
So that's a great thing. Hey, I was watching Rogan,
yeah.
and I think it was Christian Beck,
Mhm.
and he's got a thing he started. It was called Mindful Valor. I want you to check that out. I'm gonna check it
Okay.
out too. I've already signed up. I subscribed.
Okay. Cool.
So just give you a little background on it. If have you watched it? Did you watch that one?
Uh,
The senior, yeah, he was a senior chief SEAL, Mr.
oh
Beck.
yeah. So I am familiar with that episode.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm on the verge of finishing it. In fact, I'm probably gonna just jump in my truck and listen to it so I can finish it. I got about 15 minutes left, but it's been so interesting listening to this whole episode with Mr. Rogan and Mr. Beck. and it's just amazing. It opened my eyes to a lot of things that I just didn't really pay attention to, and I think it goes back into a spiritual thing. You know, we got to step back and look around us because we're missing a lot of stuff, and we as Americans take a lot of things for advantage. Oh, I do. I'm not going to say Americans. I'm going to say myself. We take advantage of a lot of things that we think are normal. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of like the water. You know, you pay for water, and then you're in the community, and they say, hey, we're going to turn the water off for the next 2 days from like 6 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, and you're wondering to yourself, well, how am I supposed to use the toilet? You know, so you've got to go back in history and say, all right, we got to caveman this, we got to figure it out. You know, so when we got the notice prior to going to turn off the water, we filled up about a lot of water jugs and just put them in the bathroom, just so when somebody had to use the bathroom, they could pour some water in there and it'd go down the drain. You know,
Yep.
and I don't know if a lot of people think that way. You know, it's interesting. But Mr. Beck, I have a lot of respect for him. I've never met him, but I am a Navy veteran as well. So I have a lot of respect for the Navy because I have an understanding of it, you know.
Right.
So it's really neat to see somebody else's perspective and the way they were raised and the way they came up in the world. So I think we need to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I could start talking about like from the beginning of, you know, from when I can remember and just kind of walk my whole story out. And we can do it in parts.
Yeah, I love it.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
we just started.
The noise out here, I'm sorry.
No, this is the first
okay.
episode.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay. So how long do you want to do this for?
Till we get done.
No. I mean, how long per episode? What do you think is a long? I mean, we'll figure it out, and then we'll just start the next episode, and I'll go through my timeline in life, and maybe we can capture all that, and we can talk about it in between. You know, we can discuss it, or if we have similarities, or if we didn't, and we can talk about your side as well. You know, it's not just me. And
I think that's a great idea.
that would be pretty cool, and that would help me be able to articulate myself.
Yeah.
Because it's something I know, and maybe I'll learn something I've forgotten.
Yeah.
While I'm going on this little journey.
Yeah. So let's do this. Okay. So let's start back at the conversation that got all this started. Okay. I was telling you about how when I was a kid, I had a friend of mine that was gay. That like at 6 and 7 years old, it was very obvious that he I don't know, it was just weird. It was just weird. And it was something that I watched very close. I knew, and it wasn't, again, when you're 6 years old, it's not all girls are yucky, right? And it's
right.
not that kind of thing. But as we matured together and I didn't leave the community until I was 16 years old, and he was a year older. So he went to the same high school I did, and he was, you just kind of knew. Everybody nobody talked about it. It wasn't like he was a cheerleader or anything, but
right. It was just accepted.
It wasn't like
it was okay.
A boyfriend or anything. He had
Right.
friends. So
it's the way it should have been.
And then you said, I never had anything like that. And that's kind of where this whole thing started, right?
Yeah, because it triggered, yes, you're absolutely right. And what happened from that point, and thanks for reinventing that thought I had, because I was on a good run there. I started thinking back to my friend. I had one good friend, His name's James Haryu. I'm still in contact with him to this day. And we had met because my father was doing martial arts. Uh, and he was like the first person that I had like latched onto because we did martial arts together. And, there's some really funny stories about James Haryu and I. And I didn't want to go that route, but I will because I think that'll just portray it because that was the beginning of when I could start remembering my life and the remembrance. So you got to remember, I'm only 47. Shit, you would think that I'd be thinking about other things at this point in my life, but I'm not. The military absorbed so much of my time that I just stopped being a human in a sense. It really changed me and morphed me, and now I'm coming back and I'm reflecting on my life and the great things that happened in my life and all the bad things that I learned from, and it's just crazy. I want to tell my life story. I think that would be really cool, and we can interact. And if I get hung up, maybe you can throw some ideas out there that may jumble. But I don't think I'm going to have that problem. I think once I start talking about this, I'll just be able to walk the timeline in my head and just go back.
Oh, good. We're doing that, and I'll help you, and I'm excited.
I think that would be neat.
That part. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
because nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah, nobody knows the Joe that was long before the military.
Yeah. So tell me about Karate Kid. That's what you were known as, right?
Oh
Karate
man,
Kid?
For the longest time as a child, fifth, sixth grade. Yeah, on the playground they called me the Karate Kid. At first it was cool, and then it got old. Later on in my timeline, but yeah, I was known as the Karate Kid. I actually did achieve the belt of it is just 1 degree under black. There's a 3rd-degree brown belt, I believe I was, or a 4th-degree brown belt. I think I was more than capable of being a black belt at that point in my life, but I had different ideas. But we'll get back on to James Haryu. We as kids, we do stuff, man. We were like the kids that would go out and dig a fort in the snow, a big cave. I mean, and just that would be tunnels from there to another place to another. Man, we just make tunnels everywhere until they collapsed, and then we get out and go in the house and dry off. We were very athletic. As we were growing up, we got into all kinds of crazy stuff. And by gosh, by the time we were teenagers, we were skateboarding down big hills where we lived that would have you exceeding speeds of like 30, 35 miles an hour, 40, something like that. Standing up on a skateboard, and that was cool for us. We liked it. We thought we were skater dudes. I mean, we were actually. I wasn't any good at it. I'll just be honest with you. It took me almost 3 years to figure out how to cantilever an ollie. I just couldn't figure out the concept. Man, I can do it now. I might break my back again, but an ollie is where you like bring the board off the ground while you're standing on it. And for some reason, I remember growing up and I just could not figure out how to do it. And my buddy James, he's just getting higher and higher, and I'm like, what the heck, man? You're just way too good at this. I think it's just because he was smarter than me by far. He a very intelligent man, and a child, which was cool. It was intriguing because we did crazy things. Like he knew how to play the guitar, and I was like, I have no earthly idea how you do this. But I wasn't interested in learning, you know. And he would try and teach me, and I just wasn't interested. That wasn't an interest for me. So
Right.
we'd go on from there, and boy, we got on a '90s zinger he had. I think it was. I'm not sure if it was a '90. I don't know. It was one of those little motorcycles that has a power band. I had no idea what the power band was. So we're flying through the. I get on this thing, and I must have hit the power band right away. I guess power band was at that point in my life. Power band was you know, when it gets to a certain speed, it'll pick up faster. I didn't realize if you put all them RPMs into it, it would take off a power band right away. Man, I
Right.
flung that motorcycle halfway across the yard.
No.
Oh my goodness, we did some crazy stuff, man. We used to go out and howl at the coyotes, and and they would start getting closer to us. I mean, this is up in northern Michigan, right? So, so as kids, I mean, that's what we did. I remember one time, him and I got my dad's tent, and it was a little pop-up tent, right? One of those round ones, like an igloo tent. So we didn't have a tent, so I had to bring the tent. So I pedaled like, oh my gosh, it must have been 5 miles. I put that tent on my back and pedal back myself about 5 miles to his house. I'm not exaggerating. It was a good ways. Uh, and we got there, we set that tent up, and it started getting dark. So we went back to the house and got some tomato soup, and we were planning on staying out in the woods all night,
Right.
And we had a little 22 with us, a little rifle.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and we were we were chasing some girls. What we was doing, there were some girls that lived down the road, and I wasn't chasing them. James was chasing them, but I was envying James. I wasn't into the girl thing. I wasn't a girl. I was into girls, but I wasn't. I had no savvy. I was just like
Right.
stupid around girls. I didn't know what to do. So I still don't know what to do. By the way, it's just like, wow, you're beautiful. I'm just pretty straightforward. So, anyways, one thing led to another. It started getting dark, right? We're all camouflaged up like we're playing army. We did that a lot. We had little wooden guns and stuff, and we would run around and play army and pretend like we were shooting enemies. And so the military was in my blood from a young age, and I'm sure a lot of kids still do that to these days. I think it just depends on where you're located. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't see anybody running around playing with little guns in the woods here. They're all riding around with electronics. You know what I'm saying?
So that's an interesting thing to think about. What we did as a kid, like running around with literally, we had wooden guns that we had, and then sometimes we had BB gun wars. I had a neighbor lady that had goggles, like eye protection, and we all had these little one cock, little spring loaded air rifles. That we'd have BB gun wars, and we literally.
Oh my goodness!
Up.
Hey, I'm getting there. Hey, I'm getting there, buddy. Hey, at least we're on the same page because I did the same thing. We were stupid.
Yeah.
And those stories will come out. I'm still at the age of probably about 13 or 14 right now.
Yeah.
I left a lot of stuff out, but there's a lot of memories that'll jump right back into it. So yeah, that's a great. What you saying is what I did, and we were stupid. So what are you doing? I'm pulling darts out of the back of my calves and all kinds of crazy shit. Let's see if we can stick this dart. Let's see if we can stick this dart in your. Just stand there and don't move, and we'll take turns throwing darts at each other. And back then the darts had a pretty heavy head on them. Well, they were just trying to stick it in your back. And we were kids. My God, man! Somebody threw something and it hit me right in my calf muscle, and it was just dangling there. I was like, oh my God, pull that thing out of my leg. And we did some stupid shit. Oh my God, but we had so much fun. And then yeah, it's just crazy some of the things that we did, and it's pretty awesome. It's crazy to see the different view of the world as it is today versus when I was younger. I mean, it's the same sky, same trees, but everything is just so advanced.
Yeah.
We were riding go-karts. Oh, that's a good one. So
hold on
when
just a second.
So I was living in Alvin, Texas, and we'd been wanting a 4-wheeler or a 3-wheeler. I think it was 3-wheelers back then. Either way, that's what we got. We got this little 80s Zinger 3-wheeler. Oh, it's awesome. But at the time, I remember this is crazy. This is when I learned how to spell. So I was in probably 7th grade, 8th grade, and I wasn't doing very good in spelling because I didn't study. I didn't look at them. I didn't sound them out. I didn't. That's not how I learned. I had to visually write them out like you were supposed to do, which I didn't do. And so they come home. So I got grounded. I got my report card, and I was an A student. I was an A student, except my spelling was terrible. it was like a C minus or something. And they were like, or maybe I was failing. Maybe I'm churching it up a little bit. No, it was probably an F. It was terrible. So they went out and bought this. That's how they fixed me. They went out and bought this 4-wheeler, and they said, "Look, you got a spelling test every week for the next 3 weeks. Here's a list of words, and you need to pass all these tests, and then you can go outside and ride 3-wheeler with your brothers." And boy, man, I'm telling you, I don't think it was like studying for a 14 Echo, you know,
That's
Table
right.
4 test. It was like
Coming
studying.
off a lockdown.
Holy smokes, man! I didn't want nothing to do with that. So it's funny how things can persuade you without even persuading. That my main goal was, hey, I'm gonna be done in a week. I ain't waiting 3 weeks. Man, I learned every word on all these I mean, it was just word after word. Come find out, they weren't the words from school. They were the words they printed up. My parents printed up, and I had to learn all these words, and I thought it was from the school. Man, I was studying, banging these things out, and it was awesome because that's when the family.
Wow.
It was awesome because that's when the family's involved, So every time I walked into the room, they would say, "Spell this," and I would stand there like I was at a spelling bee, and I would spell it, and they would say, "Very good," and I'd keep going, and then if I walk right back in the room again, they'd say, "Spell this," and by gosh, before that, when I had to wait 1 week. By the time I got that in that 1 week, all these words, just random words. I had a spelling test that next week, and it was always on a Friday, and they had like a direct line to the school spelling teacher, So now I'm like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. These guys, so, and it was the last period, and I was like, man, I was nervous all day. I remember I was just, you're so focused, but you have no idea what that outcome's going to be, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Oh God, we've all been there. So I get in there, I take this test, and I'm like, man, I bombed this thing, man. I bombed it. There's none of the words that were I learned we're on this, right? So I was like, man, I'll bomb this. Well, I get home and they had already found out I passed. I aced the. I even got the extra credit word, in case you didn't get one right. Oh man, I nailed it. And they said, "What did you do to your kid? We need you to do it to all of them." I was like, "It's not going to happen. You've got to want it, And I think that's where my drive started coming in. And I was like, "Look, man, if I'm going to do it, I'm doing it right." And that's just the way it's always been from that point forward. You know, it was just crazy. That was a hell of a concept. But I tell you what, I was driving that three wheeler and I was having a blast, and everybody else had all this extra time to ride it. Like every day after
Right.
school, they were buzzing around because we had 5 acres. So I finally get on this thing, and there's already been rules put out that I didn't even know about because I haven't been riding the thing for a whole week, right?
Right.
So for some reason they made up this game called tag.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody chases the three wheeler, and if they touch it, then they get to ride, and everybody's got to chase them. I have no idea where this. I have no idea where this came from.
Not a smart game.
I mean, we were just kids, man. We were just kids, and I have no idea how it came about. But I tell you what, most dangerous game you play. Like, Grandpa had trees planted all over the yard, but they were a good distance away from each other, right? So every day we played tag. I mean, we wore this three wheeler out every day until we, unless we got in trouble. If we got grounded, if I got grounded or something, or we weren't allowed to ride the four wheeler, they would pull the little safety clip out on the back of it. You know what I'm talking about? The little thing, it'll depress, and you put the clip in it, it'll open back up and make it live. Well, we were grounded. Parents went to Vegas, right? I believe they went to Vegas. They went somewhere for like 3 days. We don't know. We don't care. We were sitting at the house, and at this time we were teenagers. You got to remember, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 of us. There were 5 of us kids, and I'll tell you, we were grounded from the three wheeler. Nobody was around, and my Uncle Bob. He actually watches our show, by the way. I'm trying to get him to do one of the videos. Uncle Bob, him and I are like totally alike. Uncle Bob was in the Army. Uncle Bob was in the Navy. I wanted to be just like Uncle Bob, and we did turn out about right. So I'm happy for that. I love Uncle Bob and Uncle Tom. But it's interesting. Man, I got sidetracked. So many wonderful thoughts. Where was I at?
You were talking about your influence of Uncle Bob.
Oh yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's where it was. That's where I was leading to. So Uncle Bob, every time he was working on a truck or something, he was one of those over the road, or him and Grandpa were over the road truckers. Like the quick shots. They weren't like big rigs, but they were big enough that you can call them a truck. They had like a frame on the back of them that had a trolley system,
like a wedge trailer or something like that.
No, this was all part of the back of the truck. So it was like you could put a little bug on there, a bug vehicle, a Volkswagen. You could actually put one of those on top of one of the trucks, but they just redesigned it. Anyways, so I always went out there and helped them, and Uncle Bob was there, and I said, Uncle Bob, what's wrong with the three wheeler? Can we get it to run? He says, let me show you something. So he takes me out to the garage, right, where it's sitting, full of gas, you name it. It's ready to go. It just needs this little clip thing, right? Uncle Bob, he grabs a couple washers. He worked as a machinist. He grabs a couple washers. He says, "Come here." He didn't say put these glasses on. He says, "Grab this grinder," and he showed me how to cut it. He said, all right. He said, now cut another one. I said, no way. What are you doing? I had no idea what he was doing. I did no concept whatsoever. So I'm watching him, and he's telling me how to do this, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I cut 3 of these washers. He says, okay. He says, now clean them up, the edges. So he showed me how to do that. That's when I first learned how to use a grinder, right? Good experience. And we go over to the 3-wheeler, and he says, you see this right here? I said, yeah. He said, start putting them washers in there. Because I just cut a little piece out of them. And I'm sliding them in. I'm sliding them in. I'm trying to get that last one. He says, watch out. He says, you don't need this one. He takes it out. He says, get on it. I got on it. I fire right up. I was like, that was magical. What we just put washers on this thing. What the hell's going on? And then he explained to me what it was, and I was like, oh, you're awesome, Uncle Bob. I love you. I was giving him hugs. See you later. No helmet, nothing. Dude, as soon as that thing comes out in the yard, everybody comes outside. Everybody wants to tag that bike. So I got it, right? There ain't no tags. I got the bike running. Nobody's home. Nobody except Uncle Bob. Oh my God. So I take off, right? And these guys are chasing me. And I look back to see if they got close to me. And by gosh, I turn around and smoked a tree. Hit this thing dead on. Smashed the front end all the way up into the engine. Hit this tree with my shoulder. Fell off the 3-wheeler. And somebody says, tag, I got you. And I'm like, dude, I can't move. It knocked the wind out of me. I'm surprised it didn't kill me. I swear, those things are so dangerous. But as a kid, we were like, damn. I was more worried about that 3-wheeler being messed up because we weren't supposed to be driving it anyways, right? So I'm like, I'm freaking out. I just ran into a tree. This 3-wheeler, what had happened is when it hit the tree, the shocks depressed and pushed the tire, because the tire hit the tree first. It hit, the shocks went down, it depressed and pushed the shocks back up in. They weren't bent. It was just, the tire was stuck on the engine components. And I was like, oh, we destroyed the 3. Oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. Because back then you didn't get an ass chewing, you got your ass whipped. And I'm telling you, got your ass whipped with a paddle. Depending on what size or what the problem was what size you got. And sometimes you had a chance to pick. Oh my God. So I'm freaking out. That's all I can think. I didn't even care about how much I hurt. I could hardly breathe. I bet you I collapsed the lung for a second. I don't know what happened. I was just like, what the hell? Crazy, crazy. But yeah, that was my first real, hey, that was a big win as a child, That's a memory I'll never forget. And then I'll always know that, hey, there's a way to fix stuff. Right. You just gotta apply yourself, I kind of lost that because you take it all for granted,
Right.
As we get older, we start thinking about all the things that we used to do, and you start comparing it to everything that's going on now, and you're like, wow, it's changed just so much that I'm afraid that I'm losing my legacy. There's no, we're not going to talk about anything past 2020. It's crazy. It's a crazy thought I have. It's like they just shut down history from that point. The stuff they're reading in the schoolhouses today now is, shoot, it goes back and talks about a lot of history, but a lot of it's been cut out. A lot of it. But I think that's good for today. I think we'll kick it off again, and we'll start with after the 3-wheeler incident.
Okay.
That sound good?
Yeah.
All right.